Kampala. We now go into our business update, and we shall be speaking. Bank of Uganda is due to commemorate the late governor Emmanuel Tumusime Mutebile a year after he passed on. There's a lecture that is due, and we shall be joined very shortly by David Kalyango, who is with us here in the studio. He is the Chief Internal Auditor at the Central Bank. But before I do introduce him, just bring you a preamble that since the passing of the late governor of the Bank of Uganda, Emmanuel Tumusime Mutebile, there has been multiple moments of economic fervor, especially in Uganda, and the affair of a permanent replacement for the governor has been talked about, not given much attention, and the country has quite moved on. But there's an upcoming lecture dubbed the Emmanuel Mutebile Memorial Lecture, and this is what we want to interrogate. During that interrogation, we shall understand a little bit more. David Kalyango, many thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
I would like to begin with a look at what Stephen Mbide has just been putting us through, an update on traffic and seeing the gridlock. I would love you to quickly put it for us as an internal auditor, and an auditor for that matter. When you count the man hours that Ugandans lose in traffic, the gridlock, in proportion to GDP, what is our loss?
Thank you, viewers. I would consider the loss to be significant as a proportion of our GDP, and I would arrive at the value of lost, in terms of the wage rate multiplied by the number of hours that people spend in traffic off the jobs. If you did that mathematics, you'll find out that could be a substantial portion of GDP being lost in traffic alone.
That is interesting. Yeah. And where does the solution lie?
The solution lies in creating infrastructure. And as you notice, government has been keen on creating that infrastructure to ease the environment to do business.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I just wanted to bring that because we literally brought us into the conversation, but let's now go straight into the crust of this particular interview, commemoration of the late governor, Emmanuel Tumusime Mutebile. We have a memoriam, that is a lecture that is going to be held. First, bring us up to speed with the lecture itself, what we should expect, and who will be attending.
Thank you very much. The Board of Directors and Management decided to hold a memorial lecture to pay homage to the memory and legacy of Governor Mutebile. They have scheduled this lecture to coincide with his date of birth, and that is the 27th of January this year, this month. And today marks the first anniversary of his death. The lecture will be held on 27th on the theme, The Legacy of Professor Emmanuel Mutebile and its implications for current economic challenges in Uganda and Sub-Saharan Africa. The guest of honor will be His Excellency, the President of Uganda.
Okay.
The guest speaker shall be Selassie. Mr. Selassie is the IMF African Director. And yes, International Monetary Fund.
Oh, okay, IMF.
Okay,
yeah.
We have discussants who are two. We have Donald Kaberuka, a former president of the African Development Bank, and also have Dr. Njoroge, the governor of the Central
Bank of Kenya. Okay.
It is by invitation, and the venue is going to be Serena Hotel at the helipad.
Okay.
And we shall have opportunity to allow people who will not afford to attend physically to use the online facilities.
Okay.
Yes, so all are welcome to use whatever modes that will be accessible to them.
All right.
Can
you let me just go back to the theme of the lecture. Just bring me up to speed with that again. There must be somebody out there who
the theme is that the legacy of Emmanuel Professor Mutebile and its implications for the current economic challenges facing Uganda and Sub-Saharan Africa. If Mutebile was to be around, how would he have reacted in the circumstances of the current situations we are in, facing us Sub-Saharan Africa?
Bring us up to speed with how the governor handled the economic challenges of his time, so that we can have a picture into how he would have handled
now, the governor you're talking about Each time you tell the story of Uganda's economic reforms, it cannot end without mentioning Professor Emmanuel Tumusime Mutebire. He was a key person who participated in designing and implementing economic reforms that restored this country to a sound economic footing. And when he came in at the central bank, I remember his first statement was that as governor, I shall not be found wanting as an agent of fiscal restraint. He lived true to his statement. When he came in immediately, he reformed the monetary policy framework of the Bank of Uganda. He modernized it. It is now forward-looking. In addition, he carried out a number of reforms to strengthen all areas of operation of the central bank. One of them I would point out is regulation and supervision, in which we established the Deposit Protection Fund. That fund helps to ensure depositors, to help create confidence of depositors in the bank system. We have a credit reference bureau. This is about collects information about borrowers, and it improves the ability of the lender to predict default. He participated in a number of initiatives of government, like he oversaw the administration of the Agricultural Credit Fund on behalf of government. This fund was created to bridge the financing gap and also to finance people who are engaged in value addition in agriculture. These and many other contributions are attributed to him, and that's why we find it appropriate to celebrate his legacy.
Okay. Yes. You spoke earlier, just a little while ago, about his words when he assumed the position of governor on the very first time of asking fiscal restraint, the use of financial control to employ monetary limits, reducing costs, exercise economic restriction. It speaks of a case of different approaches to how the economy is run. When at the heart of COVID-19 effects, just about a year ago, there were calls for a little bit of more action on the part of the government to ensure that the economic challenges of the time were attended to. And we saw the finance minister and the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance talking about the fact that we should not act. Let's leave these matters to play out, because we are dealing with issues that are beyond us. And when you say Mutebire is a man who said he would not be an agent of fiscal restraint, there seems to be...
He shall not be found wanting.
Found wanting.
Wanting as an agent of fiscal restraint.
Yeah. Do you see a difference of approach?
I don't see a difference of approach, but from what we responded as a central bank then, they created a number of assistance programs. I think there are basically two liquidity assistance programs at the central bank to help businesses overcome the liquidity issues that prevailed then. So the central bank did what was within its means, and by doing so, they were managing the downside risk of illiquidity in the economy. Part of our strategy or responsibility involves making sure that we improve soundness and stability of the financial system, and such initiatives help you to stabilize within the confines of the mission of the central bank.
That's right.
Yes.
And of course, looking at the lecture itself, it is one of a series of lectures that the Bank of Uganda has held over time. I know of the Nyonyi Ntono Chikonyogo lecture, and what's the other one?
Joseph
Mubiru, those very prominent lectures. So now we have the Emmanuel Mutebire lecture. Away from what would appear like a ritual or tradition, what exactly comes out in terms of resolutions or the communique that is arrived at after a lecture? How do we transfer the dialogue and into action?
Yes, maybe I should briefly tell you the background of this lecture series. This lecture series started in 1988 in honor of the first governor of Bank of Uganda, Joseph Mubiru. And the purpose of this was to promote informed discussions
Okay.
on current issues in theory and practice of macroeconomic and of monetary policy. In theory and practice of monetary policy and African development. So this is an opportunity for the central bank to dialogue, to hear the players out, because the actions of the central bank affect many economic agents.
That's right.
And in policy formulation, it is important to get a feedback on how your actions impact your the recipients. So it is an opportunity to dialogue. And from these workshops, from this lecture series, we've benefited greatly. If you see the attitude of the central bank has changed greatly in terms of communicating what we do, in terms of engaging the public. We've now gone out, we have a full communication strategy, and all this came out of this dialogue of informing the public what we do and why we do what we do.
That's right.
So it is an opportunity or platform to engage on emerging issues, to hear the central bank out, and also to hear the stakeholders, people who are impacted by our decisions. One other thing I want to tell you out of this is there has been a discussion. There's one series, the 26th one, for instance, focused on financial innovations and inclusion. It was looking at how we could leverage technology in helping us deliver the mission and vision of the central bank. Now, one such product right now is that we are relying more on technology to push financial services to the last mile by supporting technology-based tools. Like these fintechs. We now have regulatory boxes where people can come and experiment technology. And once we are satisfied, they roll it out, can be licensed. So all these have been engagements arising out of these discussions.
All right, that's a beautiful submission, especially on the proponents of crypto and blockchain. Where are we on that?
Now, the central bank hasn't taken a position on this. For the time being, they have said they are studying this.
They seem to be overly cautious as a central bank.
Yes, there are risks associated.
When the financial systems in global financial capitals have embraced crypto.
They're embracing crypto, but if you notice, one of the central banks are apprehensive. They are seeing they need to understand the risks associated with these crypto issues.
They haven't given it sufficient time?
They are giving it time, but you need to take time to understand the animal that you are dealing with. But also, if you notice, the central banks are now talking about the digital currencies of their own monies. So there's work going on, but they are not adamant. They are looking at technology as a force. So it is a factor they are looking at, but in absorbing, in understanding the risk, you cannot supervise something you don't understand.
Or it's a case of a lack of infrastructure and the systems to monitor this kind of new innovation.
Yes, we haven't built that capacity yet. But I believe once capacity is built and they're able to understand the actual profiles, to be satisfied that they can offer regulatory support, it is something I believe in future they will consider. Because technology is now a wave. Yes.
All right, we are entering the final bend of this discussion, and like I promised before we came on air, we always have what we regard as the uncomfortable questions. Being a public officer, one that is at the helm of the country's central bank as the chief internal auditor. If you were to audit the Bank of Uganda right now, we don't have a governor. What does that mean?
Okay, that is the legacy of Emmanuel Tumusiime Mutebile. And I want to inform the public that Emmanuel Tumusiime Mutebile had a talent to attract good people. He made sure that systems are working. There is nothing, there's no problem. The central bank is being managed and we rely on systems. Once you create systems, you stop relying on people. People can let you down, but systems cannot. Why we're able to move without even noticing the difference is because he empowered the people there. He exemplified professional competence, he always attracted talent.
Aren't we creating a bad precedent on the assumption of legacy?
It is not bad precedent, but I want to share with you that because he had created capacity, we were able to move without even, when he's gone, we were able to replicate some of his principles. And I'm trying to emphasize the point that even if you don't have a governor right now, it does not mean that all is lost. All is still well, the systems are working.
Where do the markets get the confidence then?
It is the monetary policy action. They don't deal with the individual. It is the monetary policy actions that signal the intentions of a central bank. It's not a person. Mutebile always made us believe that he wanted to create systems that will work after him. And that is exactly what is happening. Systems are working. He left that legacy.
Interesting.
Yes.
But I would leave the gymnastics of the politics out of
Thank
it.
you.
I don't know until
Politics
when.
aside.
The politics aside?
Yes, but the systems are working.
Okay.
They don't rely on the person because the person can go. But the Bank of Uganda cannot go. People can change.
Okay.
Thank you
Very much, Mr. David Kalyango, the Chief Internal Auditor at the Bank of Uganda, there giving his submissions and, of course, the perspective on whether the nation can still go forward without a central bank governor. That lecture is on at Serena Kampala Conference Center on the 27th. And of course, you can listen to the best minds in the region when it comes to economic and monetary policy. That will be it for this.